Hi, you reached Joel Tudor. Please do not leave a voicemail on here. I never check my voicemail, and I'll probably never get the message. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
To leave a voice message, press 1.
You know, I made a decision at 14 to make surfing my life and to basically shine everything else and go towards that. And I feel like at the moment, life is really good through making that choice and having parents that embraced it, you know what I mean, and believed in me. And that's a lot. And that I think was a really cool thing. And coming from such a working class family and a dad that pounded nails every day and then went to the beach when he got out, that lifestyle and attitude that he had has enabled me to have everything, you know what I mean? To be able to surf for a living and take my kids to the beach and do all this stuff. You know, I'm lucky I had Donald Takayama and Nat Young and all these other people that kind of like took notice and acknowledged that I had a talent early and that I had cool parents to like just push me and go. So, shit, if I didn't have that, I'd be pounding nails with a compressor right now.
First time out, I was about 4 or 5 years old. Loved to surf, and I probably will never stop. It's a way of life almost, you know? I mean, you've got school, and then my free time I surf. That's my pride and joy.
Classic style is something of lasting worth. It's a timeless quality. Classic style definitely describes Joel Tudor. Joel is acknowledged as one of the most iconic surfers in history. He's respected for being an outcast, a master of style, a historian, two-time world champion, and now one of the caretakers of the sport. Joel is recognized as one of the most stylish individuals to ever step on a surfboard.
Your surroundings where you grow up, you don't really have a choice, you know? And it wasn't that I lived super far from the beach, but I lived on the backside of the mountains, and, you know, like La Jolla is here. I'm back here in the, you know, the Claremont kind of canyon area, UC Claremont. It was kind of difficult to get, when you don't have a license or a car, to get to the beach is pretty limiting, you know what I mean? You kind of have to make do with where you're at. And for me, it was either skateboarding. Skateboarding was obviously the easiest outlet because it was close, and you know, I lived close to a bunch of malls and a bunch of different stuff. But the getting to the beach was like the real test. You know what I mean? The difficulty of getting to the beach made the being there that much cooler. You know what I mean? It made the activity and the surfing and the riding and you know what I mean, learning about the whole activity that much cooler.
Joel was born and raised in working-class Claremont. His introduction to surfing came from his father and his older brother. I definitely have to say Joel's dad was a major influence on his style.
My dad started surfing in 1960 and has pretty much made it the passion of his life ever since. And that passion went to my brother and myself. First my brother, he was the first one to pick it up, and then to me. And I mean, what a cool thing to hand down to your kids, you know? When your dad grew up surfing in the 60s, the examples at that time style was everything. It had nothing to do with progression or maneuvers. It was all the poise and how somebody carried themselves and rode waves. And at that time, my dad and that generation came from the Phil and Mickey and David and Nat and all these guys, where style was such a prominent thing in their mystique, you know what I mean? It was everything, you know? And those examples that my dad gave to me kind of built what I thought was good surfing.
Joel started his competitive career at surf club events throughout California. These events emphasized a different side of competition. Friends and family hung out at the beach all day, while surfers were more concerned with cheering on their friends and having a good time than they were with prize money and points.
The club events for us kind of create an outlet of like, you have a lot of opportunity to learn from a lot of different things. A lot of the shapers are actively involved. A lot of the foundation that builds the stuff that we do is still actively involved in the coalition and the club stuff. So for me, it was a healthier environment. There were a handful of events at the time. There was one in Oceanside, there was one in Del Mar. The contests were real similar to the structure of what we put on now, you know, because they weren't major production, and it was actually like more of like a gathering for a group of people that were kind of all like-minded. Okay, everybody say cheese. What a crew. Ding repair by Josh and Dale. It kind of gave me a template of how I wanted to see contests at some point later on when I started to do it as more of a profession, you know? Because that seemed like the fun part, as opposed to, there was no money and it wasn't really a professional, well, there was nothing professional about it. It was more just kind of like a weekend where friends got together and, you know, checked out different designs, and everybody sort of focused on the actual like fun part of surfing as opposed to the competition, you know?
Renowned surfer and shaper Donald Takayama started to shape boards for Joel and became a mentor figure. He also introduced Joel to a group of legendary surfers. At age 15, Joel started competing on the ASP World Longboard Tour. During that time, he was chaperoned to events in Europe by Takayama, Nat Young, and Mickey Dora. These travels became Joel's school. He really learned the ways of the road, and he gained an appreciation and a unique insight into a generation of surfers that came before him.
For Donald, having the friends that he had wasn't abnormal. It wasn't some superstar thing. It was just his life. You know, success from the 50s into the 90s is pretty rare. Not a lot of people stayed actively involved. Donald was still in it, and his world, my playground, was that whole group. For me, it seemed like, you know, I got into Harvard at 14, the Harvard of surfing, you know what I mean? Like, I really did. That was sort of I got my scholarship through Donald, and I mean, my God, the opportunities and the things that he gave me are, what I give back to the kids now isn't even close, you know what I mean? If anybody deserves the biggest thank you for all of this, it's Donald.
Joel went on to win 2 ASP World titles, 9 US Open Championships, and became one of the most accomplished longboarders in history. Through all these accomplishments, Joel was never satisfied with the ASP's presentation of longboarding. Joel made the decision to leave competitive surfing and take a new direction in his career. He focused on a different mentality of riding the right board for the right conditions.
When I competed a bunch, a lot of it was really heartbreaking how serious people took the competitive side of it. It really made me quit competing because it just got to be like, you can take it that serious, you know? And I wanted it to kind of more focus on, like, with riding a longboard, there's a really beautiful part of it, and that's like the trimming, the nose riding, and being able to use like the front half, the part that doesn't exist on a small board, you know what I mean? And when I was competing, they almost wanted to discredit that whole part of it as being uncool. The hardest part of riding it, they wanted to like take out, but they were losing sight of what separated us in the first place and made it cool. When you come from the background that I have, where your whole career is built from like a really crazy foundation, you know what I mean? It's like Dom Takayama, Nat Young, David Nueva, like those guys built me to who I am, you know what I mean? And they kind of like instilled in me like, hey dude, don't screw this up, you know? And I was doing my best to kind of carry that on. You can only walk the nose so many times to where you want to like start to do other stuff. And then you kind of want to go through the paces. That was handed down to me from Nat. Nat would look at my boards on trips and be like, oh mate, put that thing away, you know what I mean? It's like it's completely the wrong board. And then he would give me one of his and kind of force it on me like, hey, you know, you don't really have a choice. It's like, this is I'm not letting you take that thing out. It's, you know, it's not the right thing. And that's where everyone's at right now. They ride longboards when it's small. They ride different stuff when there's, you know, the right way. I think it's advanced. You could call it a throwback, but it's actually just a better understanding of all categories of wave riding. You're actually understanding beyond what's going on of the same cookie cutter spit out thing every time, you know?
I'd definitely say that Joel has developed his own interpretation of surfing, and he's one of those people who actually has an opinion and is not afraid to share it.
The first introduction to how genuine Joel's style was, I remember seeing him surf like a perfect left point break for the first time in person. Pretty impressive, pretty amazing, you know.
And as I learned longboarding, I would watch him and I would just go, that's so, like once I started to realize what he was doing, I'm like, that is so gnarly, the way he surfs. Like, he's a freaking masterful surfer, like he has it dialed.
just his take on surfing, riding a wave. It's that simple, that clean, like, it's beautiful.
We're in an age group where Joel kind of paved the way for a lot of things that we're doing.
Joel's brought forth so much to the table and inspired so many people.
Throughout Joel's career, he understood the importance of giving back. After breaking away from ASP competition, Joel set out to create a platform for a group of surfers whose talents had been overlooked. In 2010, with the help of VANS, Joel launched the Duct Tape Invitational Series. Joel created an invitational format, embracing the spirit of club contest he grew up competing in.
From way back when, there's always been surf clubs, Wind and Sea, Malibu, Blackies, and growing up for myself and for Joel, you know, even before, there's always these club coalition events. Not prize money, not magazine coverage. It was mostly about friends going and partying and surfing, you know, waves with 4 other guys out. All that sort of stuff that revolves around the mischief that's surfing.
Everyone was just having fun, sleeping in their cars, like screwing around, and so it was just basically a, you know, beach party.
The Duct Tape Invitational is a competitive platform to give the next generation a chance to be recognized, at the same time preserving traditional logging and placing a heavy emphasis on style.
Duct tape, the name, like one day we were, me, Scott, and Alex were talking, and Scott was just explaining how, you know, Joel's concept for the whole thing, and he was like, oh, what do you guys think would be a cool name? And we were just kind of talking, and Alex was like, let's call it the Duct Tape. And like right off the bat, I was like, that's perfect. You know, I was thinking of like, it just fits all the people that are involved, you know, it's definitely like a carefree type of group of people, so not everybody's super worried about, you know, if they do get a ding on their board or what everything looks like. It's more of a place of just having fun. So yeah, if you got a ding, you just slap a piece of duct tape on it or a sticker and you just go running back in the water.
The name of the duct tape, it's just it's the concept of that you have to have a board that could definitely use it. And I think that's kind of the lifestyle, and everybody sort of fits to that mentality of like, yeah, we probably tape our boards.
That sort of mentality of it being kind of janky and held together, you know, by duct tape bursting at the seams. Casual type approach is maybe what the term duct tape stems from.
You know, back like in the 50s or whatever, and you see all the cool just style of it all, and like it's just so breathtaking. Like, oh, you're just like, wow, that seemed like so cool and so hip. Like, what a fun time, and everybody's just enjoying themselves and carefree and kind of just like hanging out, you know? It still is like that with these contests and stuff. This contest and like Joel's event brings an opportunity for all of us to come together and be a part of something that rad and special.
The Duct Tape Invitational has traveled the globe, from its inception in 2010 at Virginia Beach to Biarritz, France, Playa Salinas in Spain, Noosa Festival in Australia, to Steamer Lane in Santa Cruz, Montauk, New York, and joining the 50-year anniversary of club events at Malibu. The Duct Tape Invitational goes to locations with historical significance.
The style is, it's definitely the key thing for the duct tape. You know, it's not about how long you can nose ride or how many times you can hit the lip or how many turns you can do. It's really about these guys, the way that they surf, how they approach the wave, the equipment that they ride, you know, the different lines that they're taking, and that to me is like, that's the fun part about it. You know, it's just not this formatted thing, you have to surf exactly this way. That's the part about the invite, is like having all of these different types of guys coming in and being involved and just watching them surf.
This event seems cool because it doesn't seem like they're just judging the wave based on like nose riding only. A lot of the longboard events, what they classify as like the single fin classic event, ends up being a nose ride event, like in conjunction with all the other normal all around surf categories. They'll have like a nose ride division, and that sucks because that is the reason in my mind why longboards were claimed unfunctional, is because the boards are built for nose riding. So you watch a guy do a cutback and it's not covering no distance, no speed, because the board's set up to be ridden from the nose, not at all from any other point on the board. So that creates a genre that's not good, because there's guys that are longboarding all year round getting ready for these nose ride contests, and they're literally just concerned about getting a nose ride from the beginning of the wave to the end of the wave. And this judging doesn't seem to be based on that at all. There's a relevance for longboarding with surfing, you know? Because if it's just nose ride contests and high performance longboarding, there's no reason to be doing that.
Being a duct tape, for one, you have to ride a longboard really good. You have to have a mentality of that you don't wear a leash on a log. The proper form of cross-stepping and walking and having everything not tangling, you can't have a cord involved. It doesn't work, it doesn't look right. So that's the main thing, kind of that mentality of like, you ride a longboard when the waves call for it. There's no interference calls. You'd have two guys that have an amazing heat, maybe they'd have a close call and collide, or maybe a misunderstanding of wave judgment, they both take off and it costs them both the round. Well, in this situation, we reward it. So if two people take off on the same wave and they pull a crazy move and are able to move around one another, we'll reward them, we'll give them money. So that's sort of like the idea. It encourages people to share a wave, and that actually makes it kind of a fun thing, because you can be losing your heat and go and cut your friend off and, you know, make a couple $100, so it's cool.
It's one of my favorite things to do in all the heats of the events. I usually go for the shared wave just because it's instant fun, and doing crossovers with Robbie or Alex or whoever it is, you know, it just takes the, you know, heaviness out of a heat. It's just more lighthearted, and it's, you know, something people have always done at like Malibu and kind of some of the more classic point breaks.
There's 16 people that get invited. There's usually one wild card because we move the location almost every time to a different place. We try and shuffle in different people at each event, you know what I mean? So it's not the same. If you make the final of the last event, you're going to the next one. That's usually how that works. Or if you're consistently making finals, there's no question in like getting invited back and forth. And like I said, little things, like if I catch you at Malibu riding a tri-fin on a 2-foot day, you're probably not gonna get an invite. If I see you at Noosa on like the most perfect sandbar ever in 10 years and you're on a quad fin and it's 2 foot, you're probably not gonna get an invite, you know what I mean? Because it's not that I'm not saying you're a bad surfer, it's just your choice in equipment and what you deem as that style is what's gonna get you in, you know what I mean? And you have to believe in it, it can't be fake, and you have to truly wanna surf like that. Here's another thing, in order to have an event, and in years previous to us getting involved in putting this stuff together, most of the people that get involved in putting contests on, it's money derived. They want to gain money, you know what I mean? They're thinking about it and they're doing math. They're like, well, if we charge this much and we sell the shirts and we have this, we're going to make this back. Well, that was never really the idea. It's more a matter of giving back, you know what I mean? And for something to be successful, you have to donate your time. We're doing it for the love of it, and that's what makes it succeed. I mean, we provide everything from food to lodging to, you know what I mean? Some of the kids we give rides around because they can't afford to get a car. We go above and beyond the average contest director to like make for an environment to where they can leave and have fun and think that the shit's cool.
One of the cool things about duct tape is that it's not, you know, it's not just about the surfing, you know, it's about the full culture, skateboarding, music, the different guys that have done art for just the duct tape logo. And, you know, at each event, it just kind of changes around what everybody's doing. You know, it's been from going skateboarding to, you know, whatever. It's a great group of people that are into a whole bunch of different stuff. Makes it, like, way more, you know, exciting to see and be a part of. Neil Blender's, he's a legendary, you know, skater. It was cool, like, finding out that Neil was going to be doing some of the art for it. And I remember as a kid having some of Neil's boards when he was on GNS and, like, just like his iconic, you know, stuff that he, you know, drew back then just on his deck. So it was rad having him be a part of designing some of the stuff for the duct tape and just seeing, you know, that from that era to this era. It's a huge honor to have Neil a part and having involved in the design and what it looks like.
When he delivered the artwork for the first event in Virginia, I think I was more stoked than all the kids because I realized how special it was, and a lot of them didn't even realize, you know what I mean? Just because they're so young and they didn't partake in that. But, you know, I know that in 20 years from now, or whatever, when they get to look back and they realize the art behind all of it, they're gonna see the significance that it was more than just a little event. There was a pretty good effort at making every part of it unique.
Every event is geared around like where we're going to. So, you know, one of them was at Montauk and everybody got a skateboard. You know, everybody built all their skateboards together and then everybody went and skated at the local park there. All the competitors are excited for like the next event to see, you know, what's going on. And I've had tons of guys go, oh, is there gonna be another skateboard or is there gonna be this? Or that's just something that's different. I think there's just a lot that goes into, you know, the contest. People are thinking about, you know, what these guys would like and making sure that it's, you know, this is about having fun.
And I think that says the most about VANS. It's like, it's a lifestyle, dude. It ain't got nothing to do with the money, it's a lifestyle. And luckily, the lifestyle that they're choosing after is super cool. And I think the duct tape kind of really is an example of how cool they are because no one else would be doing this for us, you know what I mean? They're giving opportunities to kids that don't even ride for them, you know what I mean? I don't think there's any other company out there that does that. And they're doing it for the right reasons because they see the importance of surfing having some style beyond a bunch of sportsmen. As the contests are going, more people are kind of becoming more involved in making their own craft. And I think the three guys that kind of, at the moment, are sort of living what we're trying to present. Do you know what I mean? Being able to make your own boards, you know, different boards for different conditions, all kinds of stuff. I think Al and Tyler and Ryan, who are definitely on 3 entirely different trips as far as making boards. Al's on his, you know, he's got like his log and then his mid-lengths and single fin stuff. Burch is really into asymmetrics and hydrodynamics, and it seems like Tyler's kind of in the middle, and I feel like the selection and the way that the duct tape's going and the people that we put in it, for those 3, if you're a kid and you go to the beach and you're, wow, that guy surfs really cool. Well, he makes all of his own stuff. They're all pretty unique in their approach. You could say, yeah, they're all the same, but not really, you know? If they're like everyone else, then it really doesn't serve any purpose, do you know what I mean, for me to put on a contest. I need to have something that's inspiring and that kids come and see and get to pull their own little unique twist off of and create their own identity, you know what I mean? For me, that's kind of the whole goal of the contest. They're inspiring for me and they're inspiring other kids in the long run, and that's only going to create more people that are, you know, make surfing that much better.
First time I met Joel, well, it's not the first, yeah, the first time he like ever acknowledged me was this day I was at Cardiff. He paddled by me and I was like, kind of got a little bit nervous, you know, I'm a little bit starstruck by him. He paddled after me, he was like, man, if you weren't a good surfer, he said something like, if you weren't a good surfer, I'd kick you in the fucking knees right now, or something like that. I forget what it was, but it was pretty radical, and I was like, whoa, but I like kind of was stoked on the compliment, you know, like, oh fuck, he said I was a good surfer, that's cool. It's tough, man. He's been hard on me, you know, growing up, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I feel like that's awesome because he's cared to impart his knowledge on me in the way that he does that.
Burch is from the same town that I'm from. He's actually a really talented shortboard kid that in the last 5 years, just through like being really curious and surfing between Machado down at Seaside and then me over here, he sort of, in a very short period of time, became incredibly, incredibly good. And on a longboard, that's really hard to do. Like, a lot of guys, especially when they come from that side, like he wasn't like good on a shortboard, he was really, really good. And a lot of guys will go from that to riding a log, and it is just the most awkward transition ever, and very few people can make it.
Ryan's excellent. He definitely comes from a different background than a lot of the kids. I was pretty blown away. Like, when the first time I saw like footage of him longboard, I was like, holy cow, like this guy's surfing better than everybody. And then the fact he's, you know, real creative with foam. He makes a lot of asymmetrical boards and just kind of off-the-wall designs, you know, and he's doing it out of just desire to create a functional, futuristic design.
Tyler's insane. I've always appreciated his whole act in and out of the water, and always looked up to him as, you know, super stylish. I share a lot of similar interests with Tyler as far as board design. Like, he's all over the place. He'll be riding an 11-foot skip fry, just kind of going straight. And that feeling to me is like one of the most important things in surfing, is like wherever your mind is and whatever mood you're in, like that's what comes across. And when you're surfing what you feel like and what you're interested in, it looks that much better.
I started shaping when I was 14. Me and my friend just ripped off the glass off this old board and reshaped it in this little egg and painted it. And then, I don't know, I really like looking at all the different eras of surfboards and then combining them with like modern day technology and ideas. So it's fun to blend them all together.
Tyler Warren's another one. He had Hobie, and Hobie put him with Terry Martin. Terry Martin helped him. You know, it's just strange that like a lot of the guys that are in there that are shaping and doing all their stuff had somewhat of a father figure from that generation, you know what I mean? Aside from their own dads. And I think that kind of spawned the whole wanting to pick up a planer thing.
I was exciting to watch surf. When I started riding different boards, my favorite movie was One California Day. And I would watch that movie over and over again, and Al's part was just so shocking because it was so crazy. Like, what the hell? That's insane. Like, it was so technical, and I got lucky enough to like go on a couple trips with him and see him do his thing in person, and it was just like, he's like one of the craziest surfers I've ever seen in my entire life. Like hanging heels in the weirdest spots of waves and like running back when the wave should detonate you. And like, as far as someone who's like really tuned into stuff and really like knows what he's doing, he's definitely one of the best I've ever surfed with.
When I was younger and I surfed for Robert August, Mark Martinson made most of my boards. I loved being around Robert and Mark and all the guys that were making my boards at the time. Starting to shape my own boards just kind of gave me that same feeling I felt when I was a little kid, you know, just that initial excitement of opening some new door. And it's kind of been like rediscovering surfing and gave me a whole new appreciation, not only for all the amazing craftsmen and board builders that have made boards over the years, but a new appreciation for just the subtleties of surfing. And
the cool thing for Al is he's constantly in transition of trying different things, like through trial and error, and then finds like an immediate result that's usually really cool. That, for me, in the last 3 years of watching his surfing, it's been really like kind of awesome to watch. And now where he's at with the 70s boards and the mid-lengths and all the stuff, he's on his own trip. I get around Al, it's kind of cool. It makes me want to relive stuff that I forgot about, that I thought was cool 10 years ago, and I see them going through it now, and I'm like, oh, rad. So it's like I'm gaining motivation from an entirely different generation.
The duct tape's going to be at the US Open this year. It's going to be pretty epic to be alongside, you know, guys like Kelly Slater, and it's awesome that it just highlights classic longboarding, which, you know, for so long has just been kind of underground, and now it's kind of slowly coming above ground, I guess.
To me, it's like you surf. Whether you ride a longboard or a shortboard or anything in between, you know, surfing. As far as those two being together at the US Open, I think it complements each other. You got something they're two totally different in the sense of styles and how it's done, but both are amazing.
Huntington Beach and surf contests goes so far back, you know what I mean? And so many like moments will stand out forever. From David to like to Aki to Curran, like so many people made their, not who they were, but like cemented, like that they're champions, you know what I mean, through going through Huntington Beach. And for me, it was the same thing for riding a log. I came under the footsteps of David, you know what I mean, and kind of like, Huntington was like a place where I was able to showcase my talent. It really was. It was like the center stage for surfing, for me and for a shitload of people in their lifetime, and it still is. But it's really nice to have both sides there and represented so well. You're gonna have all the current kids that are the best in the world at flying through the air and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And then you're going to have the best guys at making surfing look beautiful, you know? And that is really what a crazy opportunity. And I never really thought of it as being such a cool place for all those guys too, to like show everybody how different they are.